I think you can start recording. There we go. Welcome, everyone. My name is Deborah Gallant. You are at a monthly program that we run, and I'll explain this in a minute, but it's a handshake between EforAll and its partner organization, Entrepreneurs Forever. We run this program every month on a different subject that we think that entrepreneurs want to learn about. And we haven't done one like this before, so I'm pretty excited about it. But a lot of EforAll entrepreneurs are wanting to or have opened food businesses. So we have put together a panel of EforAll alumni, and I think one of them actually is in Entrepreneurs Forever. What our format is we're going to do the panel and we're going to record that so anybody can go and watch that later. And then the last half hour, we turn the recording off and then you can ask your questions. So we want to make this as interactive as possible in the last half hour. So as I said, this is an EforAll program, but as of September 6th, I work for Entrepreneurs Forever, the partner organization. And they work hand in hand to help people grow their businesses. So hopefully these terrific programs will be continuing. I'm going to introduce the panel and then I'm going to hopefully get out of the way and let them talk about food. I will always still be here. And if you have any clarifying questions or things you want to ask, you can always type it into the chat. Our moderator is actually going to be Lisa Newmann. Lisa is one of the EforAll Berkshire County mentors, and she spent her career building, merging, and running food companies ranging in size from startups to corporate turnarounds, and they've yielded networks of national account relationships. Lisa's business pursuits since 2000 have highlighted the impact of climate change on our food supply by developing lines of healthy snack brands and helping to communicate the importance of environmentally conscious sourcing. In 2012, Lisa was invited to speak at the Food Innovation Summit on propelling change in the food industry. Our panelists, who, as I said, are EforAll alumni, Kimberly from Soul Good Confections. She's a late start food entrepreneur based out of Hope in Maine and Warren, Rhode Island. She's been in business for 15 months, and after years with food sensitivities and a lifetime passion for baking, her clean eating focus gave her direction to her second career as the founder of Soul Good Confections. Welcome, Kimberly. I'm gonna, if I can, go back. Kalpana Kathanidi, I hope I said it right, is the founder of Kay's Curries. Kimberly, Kay makes ready-to-cook kits for Indian food. Just add water and cook for 15 to 20 minutes. They sell online on the website at kayscurries.com and at 9 stores, and she's been in business about a year. And she was just at the Boston Food Show, so maybe we'll ask her some questions about that. Melissa Jankowski runs the Buttercup Cafe in Barnstable Village. She's an alumni of our Cape Cod program, and she worked in the industry for many years. And get this, she opened in September 2020. Yes, in the middle of the pandemic. So there's probably some good questions and answers for her about that, what it's like, those challenges. And our final one, Bonnie, did you have a website? Because I couldn't find it. Baker Addiction? She does have one. We'll send you the link in chat later. But Bonnie worked at Taconic Biosciences for 20 years. And in 2018, she left that company. She worked on a horse farm for a winter and then started Baker's Addiction. And I can testify to the deliciousness of Bonnie's food because she made me a carrot cake for my birthday. Thank you, Bonnie. I paid her, don't worry. All right, so today's format. The moderator and the panelists are going to tell their own stories for a few minutes. And then Lisa's going to try to get them talking among themselves. Then we'll stop that recording and leave time for audience participation, and we're going to meet you. So I just stopped sharing, and Lisa, the floor is yours.
Oh, hello. I have a question. Deb, did you send the questions around?
Yes, they've seen the questions. Mm-hmm.
So everyone has seen my wedding planning questions. Sorry for that reference, and I really didn't even realize that everybody was women here, but
I don't think I knew that. Well, I knew the panel was all women. I didn't know the whole audience was women too. It's crazy, but yeah, we're happy to have everyone here.
So you know, when you're, if any of you have ever planned a wedding, you basically plan it for rain. because then all you can do is just celebrate the sun when it doesn't rain. But if it rains, there's a logistical, often nightmare, depending on how many people, and it really so relates to business, I found. And I only learned this when I was planning my daughter's wedding. Anyway, my business, just to introduce myself, I'm what Deb told you I was. I've been in the food business for a very long time. I started when I was very young, and then I lucked out early on when there was a big company looking for a company like mine. My company was a cookie company making frozen dough that we were then selling to places that baked croissants so they could then bake cookies. And we had 38 varieties of chocolate chip cookies. And a company came to me, an international baking company, and liked the recipes and just made me an offer. So it sort of then took me on my path, sort of leveraging up. I went to the next step. Some people asked me to do something again. I just did different things along the way. And every time I was able to learn from all the millions of mistakes that I made, or the bad choices, mixed with good ones, but I really learned along the way. So even now, I just started another business. I was invited to join in with a group about a year and a half ago. And it's almost like it really is a culmination of everything that I've learned in my business career. So.
Okay, why don't we go to the next panelist just to introduce yourself. Kalpana, would you like to go next?
Hi, this is Kalpana Ketinidi. I'm the founder of Case Curries. Deb already gave a little intro. We make ready-to-cook kits for Indian food. Just add water and cook for 15 to 20 minutes. We've launched end of September last year officially. So I'm an EforAll alumni. I went into EforAll summer cohort with a concept, a prototype. And by the time I graduated, we were in 2 stores. I had a website and everything launched. Today we sell online on our website, and we are in 9 stores. And we do big trade shows like yesterday's. So happy to chat. But I'm also a member of EforEver Lola program. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Bonnie.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Davis. I have Baker Addiction LLC here in Columbia County, New York. This adventure as wanting to bake out of my house, and talking with a friend who owned a restaurant. She said that I shouldn't do that I should come bake for her. So I learned my way around the commercial kitchen and upsizing my recipes from ones that you could find in a cookbook until they're 8 times batches. Learning how to math that way has been an adventure. Also trying different things and being unique and different about what you want to do, and being unafraid of doing that. I've had lots of fear in doing it. I initially set out to do what I'm doing now, but vegan and gluten-free brownie choices, because I always had friends that would with food sensitivities, and I know that they couldn't go into a grocery store and find anything that was fresh baked. So currently I have 5 wholesale accounts, plus I make lots of different flavored cookies. I make cakes and cupcakes, and I'm always trying something new, something unexpected. I have regular customers who reach out for cupcakes for special occasions. I've done weddings and all sorts of stuff like that. I'm still hoping to branch out into my own commercial space. Unfortunately, I haven't had that materialize yet, but it is getting closer.
But it will.
Closer.
And
It will.
Let's stay with the healthy confections, and we'll go to Kimberly. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell a little bit about your backstory?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kimberly Doplace. I'm originally from New Bedford, and I now live in the North Shore. My company is Soul Good Confections, and the backstory really is that I've had food sensitivity since 2008, And it seemed every year I started adding on another one. So I became soy free and nut free and canola oil free and gum free and all of these things. So even all of the gluten free items that were in the stores, I still couldn't eat them. So because I love baking, I started doing things like that on my own. And I was actually looking for a new career because I was a teacher for 20 years and it was time for something different. I thought that this would be less stressful, but I think it's a different kind of stress. So systems are something that I'm used to, and I'm still trying to figure out those systems. And it was really challenging because I was in a service business before, and now to be in a consumer product goods service, it's completely different animal, and trying to manage everything that it flows from. Just because I want to make candy doesn't mean that it's easy. So packaging and all that stuff is a challenge. I have found some great inspiration. So Beth Fraden, she makes Beth Baked Crackers. I met her at the Gluten Free Expo, and she introduced me to the concept of Hope in Maine in Warren, Rhode Island. And that's where I based my kitchen there. They're a great team to help me get started, but I was not getting it. And even though I was listening to a lot of podcasts and reading a lot of books, by the way, plug the E-Myth is an amazing book for entrepreneurs. I knew that I needed more help to get structured. So I applied for EforAll, and I was accepted, and my mentors have been life-changing. Making candies and wrapping them is super time consuming, and I was not making any money. And they gave me the big kick in the pants that showed me that I was losing money, a lot of it. And if I didn't find a co-packer, things weren't going to change. So through my interaction with EforAll, I'm now working with a co-packer to make my candies. And now I really need to get to other products. So my story is, like everybody's, is really interesting, but the making one single product right now is really kind of a tangled mess. So, I mean, I'm hoping I can learn from all of you as well to help me straighten things out.
Thank you. And Melissa, tell us, now you own a restaurant, so it's a little different than the products that everyone else talked. Tell us about your story.
Hi friends, I'm Melissa Jankowski, and I opened Buttercup Cafe in September of 2020. We are a breakfast, lunch, takeout, and treats cafe. I have 49 seats inside our dining room. We also have a 16-seat pandemic patio that I'm hoping goes beyond the pandemic, fingers crossed. We serve breakfast and lunch and treats all day long. We open at 8 a.m. and close at 2. We have everything from your traditional pancakes. We have lemon ricotta pancakes. We have carrot cake pancakes. We also have turkey and fig grilled cheese sandwich. We've got a traditional Reuben. We have something on our menu for everyone, and we'd love to have you all visit.
And she's in Barnstable, an EforAll Cape Cod graduate. So I am going to hopefully say less. And Lisa, why don't you see what learning we can get from these folks about cooking from home, about commercial kitchens, about regulations, about all the stuff that's particular to presenting and being successful in a food business.
Okay. If you look at the third question down, is your delegating process evolving? I think, was it Kimberly who mentioned that you learned that it's a good idea to have a contract manufacturer as opposed to be doing it yourself? That's part of that whole approach, looking at, do I hire more people to do what I have to do, or is that going to be more expensive? And you can learn a lot from connecting with as you know, right? So you have,
I guess the question to the others is, are you beyond a one-person operation? How do you delegate, right?
Yeah, if you have a CPG, it sounds like Kalpana has you package the products. So
Yeah.
Are you making them in your own?
No, actually, so that's good segue. I make them out of a commercial kitchen in Stoneham. It's called Food Rev. It's a woman-owned company. Lisa is amazing, the owner of the shared kitchen. I make everything. I buy the craft bags or the rice paper bags. We just moved on to the rice paper bags, but designing the labels, going to Staples, printing them, bringing them home, sticking on the papers. But on the weekends, I go to the shared kitchen and then package them. But occasionally, I do have to request help, especially when we do these big events. I only can do a certain amount of time. It has been a challenge to find help. So my friends chime in, there's that kind of delegation that happens. And also, some of the skill set, like you have to see what's the main skill set. Like, for example, designing labels is not my top. Designing is not my strengths. Then I've hired an intern. She's been doing that work. So I'm trying to delegate these little pieces of work. I have an intern that designed a banner. So we try to get some help there. And the events that we did yesterday, I had a friend help and then an intern and then temporary hire. So there's no full-time employee that I've hired, but I'm trying to find help here and there that I can delegate. And yeah, that's where I'm going to pause. But yes, so I don't have a co-packer yet. It's been a challenge to find one. I do have good leads. So we're going to work on them, but yes. Is that helpful? Is there anything you want me to add?
Well, is it helpful to everyone? Obviously, Buttercut Cafe, you don't need a co-packer because you're making everything there and serving it. How about everyone else? Anyone else who's okay? Because we can start.
Kimberly mentioned using a co-packer. Was it hard to find a co-packer, Kimberly?
It was incredibly difficult to find a co-packer. Incredibly difficult, especially to make candy. So my candies are packaged, just like packaged candies. And when you're doing them on your own, I had 2 assistants to help, and we couldn't get enough done. So there was no way I was going to be able to scale, and I wanted to be able to get into stores, and that was just not going to be a possibility. So then I started looking for co-packers, co-manufacturers. They're called a bunch of different things, and I could find somebody that could wrap the candies and not make them, or make them and not wrap them. So I started looking at products in stores and calling the companies that on the packages. And I found somebody by chance that's not a co-manufacturer, but he was able to fit me in, and he makes my candies now. Part 2 is, since I'm not producing, actually I produced with him, but eventually he's going to do it on his own. I'm also going to be making a dessert sauce. So now I'm looking at 3 different manufacturers to help me with that. And, it's a waiting game, because I found people, but there's minimum order quantities, and then minimal amounts of capital to order all of the quantities, and packaging and labeling and all that stuff. So it's not an easy thing. There are resources. So Cornell University has a list of a bunch of them, and you just have to call. You can see what fits your product the best, and then just call them, and then pick your own. Massachusetts has one too, which is like a nationwide list of different co-packers. But even so, some of them are listed that they do what you need, and then when you call them, they don't, or they don't even co-pack, and somehow they made it to the list. So I mean, I've spent weeks looking for the different people that I've been able to find.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one other challenge to co-packer. It's not that co-packers don't exist. It's finding the co-packer that's right for the stage of the business that you are in. For example, you call somebody and they'll ask, oh, what's your orders, right? And then you say, oh, I have a good lead from a distributor. But then they'll say, oh, do you have an order? And then you call a distributor, then they'll ask you, it's like this chicken and egg problem you're running into. Do you have enough orders? Because the co-packer want to make sure that you're using their services at a consistent pace every month or every week, whatever that is, right? And when you're young, you don't have enough orders. So it's that chicken and egg problem that you run into. It's not that they don't exist out in the wild. That's the challenge I found.
I just want to ask the question to, I guess it's really for Kimberly, Kalpana, and maybe Bonnie, is when it gets beyond what you can do yourself, the economics of it must change drastically, right? Kimberly, did you have to raise your prices enormously?
No, I didn't, because I was spending so much more money with my small team and renting kitchen space that it was beneficial for me to move to the co-packer. But my product is different. It's wrapping candies, so it's much different than different products. So it was definitely a win for me. But with that being said, once I go to manufacture the jarred caramel sauce, that's going to be a lot bigger than anything. And I'm going actually direct to co-packer. I'm not going to produce it on my own to start.
I'd like to just mention one thing that I learned along the way on this is if you price the products in the beginning, not based on your own labor and your own time and even your own team, but what they'll be in the marketplace when they're coming from a distributor to the store, or if it's online and DTC, then direct to consumer, then whatever that's going to be. Sort of balancing the competitive pricing and what your costs are going to be, so you don't have to change your model as you get going. Because eventually with minimum order quantities that you reach, the price will come down. It'll cost you less money. You'll make more money, obviously, on higher volumes, but you don't really need to keep adjusting your price. It's really that you probably all know that, but I just thought I'd mention since
I want to include Melissa in this conversation because you can't run a restaurant by yourself. What's the process of hiring and delegating and not having to do it all yourself been for a restaurant?
I'm constantly hiring. Even when I think I have enough employees, I never turn down an interview to meet with somebody who might be potentially my next best employee. I'm always looking for good people, and my response to anyone who asks if I'm hiring is that I always make room for good people. So delegating is something totally different for me. I can interview and hire away, but whether or not I can delegate sometimes is a difficult task for me, because it's almost sometimes easier for me to do it myself. But I do have a team of 20 year-round employees right now. So I do have a ton of help. I have a bookkeeper. I mean, I don't by any means do any of this alone.
Bonnie, how will you ever make the decision to get beyond just Bonnie?
That's really almost where I'm at currently, because I'm still in someone else's kitchen. I just am not able to bring real people in that would belong to me or belong to my business higher. I've had my kids come in and help me. Luckily they're 13 up, that have come and helped me scoop cookies or package cookies when I needed an extra set of hands. Luckily, I've tried to streamline what I do so that I don't have to rely a lot on other people. I try to take on too much, but in the future, it's going to come to a place now that I do need an extra set of hands besides my own too.
Right. Lisa, I think I'd like to get them talking a little bit about government regulations, because when you have a food business, there's health departments and there's labeling and there's nutrition and there's when do you have to get out of your kitchen? I don't even have a good question to start. Do you have a way to get this conversation started?
Well, it applies differently to Bonnie than it does to the CPG people.
Well, and Melissa with her restaurant.
Yeah, there's a wonderful, the FDA website and I think there's Massachusetts-based websites, right? Too,
Yep.
that list everything and the weight and the size of the font you're supposed to have on the package and all of that. What would you like? What is your major question then?
I guess that I would want to check in with everyone. It's like,
I
what
can-
have you found out have been the challenges around those issues? So Kalpana, you can kick us off.
Yeah, I
with-
can kick off so some of the things that are very basic as things that you should be knowing is to have the certifications, ServSafe certification. When I was going through a certification, it seemed like a lot of them apply to, let's say, to a restaurant business, and Melissa is more closely aligned. They were, you have to go through these trainings of like, what temperature should the fish be when you reheat? And I'm going in my head, oh, this doesn't quite apply, but you have to, the certification is not tough as such, but it's very tricky. And then once you have those certifications, for example, someone asked, are you able to delegate? I'm able to delegate packaging, but I have to be in the kitchen because I have the certification and they don't. I have to make sure they're following all these rules. The second thing is, if you are a CPG product and if you want to sell your product in stores, in retail stores, you need to have a wholesale license, which means you have to go through this wholesale certification process, which you and the kitchen owner work closely with. But mostly it's about you and your business. So there's weekends I've spent going through the documentation that they needed, right? And then you work closely with the health inspector. By the way, I found my health inspector to be super friendly. They want you to be successful. They want you to have this food business. So they, even if I did not, she sends me an email and I did not respond 2 weeks before because I'm busy with so many things. And she checked on me. Do you have any questions? So I was going through this process of back and forth with her. And then, they come and inspect and they look at your nutrition labels. I think Lisa was kind of leading to it where I have the nutrition label, but then the font was not big enough. So she'll give you these inputs that you go back and correct. And so those are like I was learning all of this on the go. Are there resources? There are resources, but they're all these in different places that you have to, they don't quite show up on Googling, by the way. So you need to work with other business owners that have gone through similar process. So my advice to anybody would be like network and ask the right questions, because sometimes people assume that you know this stuff, like you already done this. So just go through that process. And if anybody wants to if anybody has any more questions, please reach out to me. I'm happy to help like with all these, different steps that you have to go through for a CPG product. But
yeah, I'm looking at also Bonnie's comment about there isn't a single place to find everything. There are pretty comprehensive sites though, which I'm happy to send a link, that do have a lot. And when you say it doesn't have everything, Bonnie, are there things missing that you're looking for that you haven't been able to find?
There was things I needed, and I had to go to the Ag and Markets side to find little bits and pieces, and they didn't have, as far as packaging information and what needed to be included. I haven't gotten to the point where I have to include nutritional stuff because I'm on such a scale and I'm just selling to co-ops and small independent stores. I'm not in any chain, stuff like that. But then to find other stuff, you have to go to the Department of Health, and then you have to go to the New York State health web, which is very different. And you just kind of are piecemealing stuff together to find all the information that you need.
Okay.
What is it like to have a restaurant, Melissa? Do you have a lot of health regulations and inspections and things?
Yeah, you do have to be ServSafe certified as well. And there are certifications and certificates and other things that the town wants you to have posted. And they're actually really good about reminding and sending emails and letting you know when the deadline's coming up or if it's passed even. And you just have to check the boxes and send the check and you're on your way. I've had 2 health inspections in the 2 years that I've been open. One was upon opening, and then the other one was last month. So I don't know if it's due to COVID and the pandemic, that they're not as regular as they once were, but it was pretty easy. Came in and, you know, not everything was perfect, but not everything was as horrible as I thought it was either. So it was just a little bit of communication and some tightening up of things. And it was, it's really, the town is really helpful, and they are pretty supportive of, I know, for at least me.
Now, Kimberly, I wonder if you're using a co-packer, so that, do you fall under their protection in terms of meeting all the rules? Or, I don't know, are there bodies that certify that you're gluten-free? I mean, how does all of that work?
So I'm certified through Hope in Maine. So I still hold a membership there, and that's my main location.
I don't
That's
think I
where-
know what Hope in Maine is, so you better tell us.
Hope in Maine is a food incubator facility in Warren, Rhode Island. So there's like Commonwealth Kitchen and even Rev Foods. I think they help you with those things too. So they've been super informative on all of the regulations that I need, and their health inspector is awesome. So while I was still producing at Hope in Maine, they were a great resource, so that I was dotting my I's and crossing my T's from here to there. So the ServSafe certification, the kitchen certification to produce, that's all there. But your question had to do with the co-packer. Yes. So I still hold my certifications in Rhode Island, but the co-packer, I'm under his umbrella at this point when he's producing. And when I did the Boston Local Food Show this week, they wanted the certification from the co-packer. So I just get that from him, and that's how that goes.
Right? Anybody have anything to add on that topic?
I do want to say that I was surprised separately, but similarly for getting into farmers markets, is that you have to apply for Board of Health certification from all of the towns in the state to sell your wares. So they all have different prices, they all have different needs, and they all want their certification. So they all get their piece of the pie.
Can the certification come through the co-packer in your case? Because it's not your specific kitchen. You can get that certification or that piece of paper.
Yes, yep,
Maine.
absolutely. Yeah, so Hope in Maine, I'm like independent, like I pay membership, so that's my kitchen, in that facility. But getting into the next co-packer is going to be a little bit tangled too. But I've got so many stories. When I was going to have Hope in Maine do the co-packing, but I don't know that their schedule can fit me for the sauce. And so I think it really comes down to the co-packer is the person that holds all that certification, and I don't need to get anything addition, because there was a certification that I was going to need to get that was going to cost like $700, and my goal is to have the co-packer do it. And so I would have had to do that, do some test batches, and then eventually go to co-packer. And that's why I decided I'm just going to go direct to the co-manufacturer so I don't have to spend more money for something that I'm going to keep temporarily. I'm still learning a little bit more about that. So I'm finding that sauce manufacturers in Maine, there's another one in North Carolina, because I can't find somebody to do what I need. So I've got to figure out what theirs are. But there was a question about like the gluten-free certification, the certified organic. If you get lucky, you can find somebody that has all of those certifications, but that may or may not be a thing. And some people want it on their products, and other people are, I list all of my ingredients are organic, but I'm not manufacturing in an organic facility.
Oh, I don't think the facility has to be organic.
Well, sometimes when you get that thing that says certified organic, if you can't put that label on your product unless you paid for that in the facility.
Yes,
paid for that
all I
certification.
mean is that I don't, it's not that the facility has to be, it means that
Oh,
they have the processes, they separate the ingredients, and
mm,
it's not as stringent as gluten-free, because gluten-free has dust in the air that,
yeah,
but I think with organic, it's just I mean, there might be organic, there are plenty of actually organic facilities,
mm,
because that's what they do. But I think you can make organic items in a non-organic facility.
Yeah.
As long as, yeah, you're cleaning the conveyor belts. Yeah.
So Kim, one of the things I think you were leaning towards with the farmers markets, the certifications, I think what you, and correct me if I'm wrong, what you were leading to is like, you can't just go to Melrose Farmers Market and sell your products. You have to get a permit from the city of Melrose. For example, yesterday we did an event in Boston. We don't have a permit from city of Boston, but to do that one-day event, you have to go through, you apply, you pay the fee, and you get one-day permit, and the permit ends as of yesterday. So next time, in 2 weeks later, I'm doing another event, and so you have to pay again another fee. So the more farmers markets you do, the more permits you'll have. And yeah, every season you have to get a new one. So these are all the things that you have to account for. But that's additional work for you.
Let me just build off that if I may. I know I'm butting in here, Lisa, I'm sorry. What else is different about having a food business? I mean, it's obvious, right? If you don't sell it, it's going to go bad. If you open the restaurant and you hire 20 people and then there's a snowstorm and no one comes, but what are some of the things that you've faced, because you all did something else before, that are particular to being in the food business?
What some of the other?
Anyone?
Go ahead. Sorry, I'm just mulling over in my head.
No.
I'll just, because I had a service business before, so now it's your cost of goods sold, like how much money you have to pay just to have your business. That is an incredible amount of your expenses, and that is something I didn't expect. And I'm thinking of Melissa with your restaurant, and do you pay for time off on a snow day or things like that? Those are those are the costs that you don't think about.
No, we don't. I don't get paid and nobody gets paid. The restaurant doesn't make any money and you don't make any money. It's unfortunate. The Massachusetts does have in place the sick paid leave for anybody who finds themselves sick. So sick time is something that people can take advantage of, but snow day or hurricane or loss of power, it's just a day that we all eat collectively, and that means something different for everybody that works there. And I don't really know what it's like in different industries. I've done this food thing since I was 14, and I've always just kind of been enamored by it and amazed by it and horrified by it all at the same time, because it's really a business of people and food, which are two really important things in the world, right? So it's just totally unpredictable. You never know what you're going to get. Every day is different. It's like a house of cards that's like one card away from toppling over every single day. And there's somebody that's got to keep the house together. And that's you, me, whoever.
My current job, and I've never worked in food industry, and I've never thought I would start a business in food industry. But Melissa, you were kind of leading to this, is the connection, especially with food, is, for example, I can't have an event without doing a tasting, because the more people need to taste, they need to know what they're getting. Once they taste it, I find it, whatever I do tasting that day, that event, that's the one that's going to fly off, because people can connect, right? If I didn't do tasting and I'm just explaining, it's not gonna fly through. As opposed to, I work on digital products in my current and former life, it's different. So I think that emotional connection you need to find. And the other thing is, you have to be the face of the brand. Like, for example, we talked about delegation. I cannot have somebody run the farmers market. I have to be there. I have to tell the story. So there's that emotional connection in so many aspects that happens. I find it very challenging, especially you're running a business and you're trying to do everything, and you have to be talking to the retail customers. Go and do the tastings there, talk to the buyers at the retail stores. So there's a lot of like that you cannot delegate even if you want to. That I find challenging.
That will evolve because you obviously have to train people down the road to tell your story. Some of them will have the enthusiasm. It's never as good as you will be as the founder and owner. But in order to grow, you will have to do that, and you'll find a way, because that's what we do. We just, the passion spills out of you. And so the people who are working with you over time, especially if you want to grow, because you obviously can't be every place. So yeah, but that sort of brings, because of that issue, and also the question that you just asked, Deb, it sort of brings me back to the money situation. Does everyone, and I wasn't sure I should put that as number one, but do you have enough money, or is there enough money in the business? Is the profitability there from the get-go? It never is from the get-go, but especially because of all the things that you have to do that you were talking about, Kimberly. But these are just questions. We don't have to answer these questions.
Well, you don't have to be specific. No one's going to ask to look at your balance sheet, but the fact is, restaurants have the highest failure rate of any kind of business that there is. People say go throw your money out a window before you start a restaurant. I'm not sure it's true in every food business, but I wonder if you would all feel comfortable just saying what's going on financially and whether this is profitable for you.
Or it's on the road to, or even on the road to profit.
On the way to it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kimberly, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so thank you for asking that question, because it is an uncomfortable topic. And my goal was to be able to replace my income in the job that I left. And I don't know when that's going to happen. And I want to feel comfortable with the fact that it will eventually happen. But it's challenging that, I don't need to say like what I was making, but like, I don't see myself making that for a few years, and just to have the faith that it will happen. So that working capital I've already dumped a lot of money into the business, and the steps that I took probably were the wrong steps, so now I've did things in the early part that I could have waited till later to do. So now I've spent a lot more money, and I'm still, finally, I'm proud to say the last 2 quarters, I'm making a little profit, just a little, but it's not, but if I do the whole year, I'm still not, but I can say that the last 2 quarters, I have a tiny bit. So I feel, encouraged about that. But I've also, I can say that I've got a mentor from SCORE that's helping me do cash flow worksheets, and then get into stores to do B2B. Because doing the farmers market circuit is not going to make money. The reality is there's not a lot of volume there. So having the drive to succeed and find those other channels which can get me over my finish line, or what is it, to the first leg of the course. I want to finish that and finish it in a positive way. That would be awesome. Thank you
for sharing.
Yeah, and mine is a self-funded business. Even in CPG products, just the profit margin is very low in general with food industry. Restaurants are not. So that's one challenge. The second challenge is the reason I'm working my full-time job is to fund my business. I think to be really honest, like the first year, the second year is hard to assess if you are in the right path, right? You're still investing in, like I'm investing in marketing, I'm investing, even the little things that yesterday I can tell I didn't break even, because you invest in, the people that you hire to help you, the product you make, the banners and all of the fee that you pay to be in the event. So it's really hard for me to assess and say, okay, have we made revenue? Yes. Have we made profit? No, right? I think it'll be a few years down the lane. What that number is. When I did my EforAll pitch, I told, oh, by this year's August, I'm going to quit my full-time job. And I know now, after running it for a little less than a year, that I'm not going to be ready a year later to quit my job, right? And Kimberly's point, she and I have a common mentor from EforAll, George Obatoju, and he's from a finance, both my mentors are from finance backgrounds. They're always asked, sure, you cannot make your paycheck where you make today, but what is that number that makes you comfortable? Or what is that level of business that you have to make to quit your job? I'm still not able to assess that. Months later, I'm still mulling over it. So it's really hard to think through finances in a food industry. It goes back to your earlier question, what's different is this, I think, when you compare like a mobile app or a digital product that you're launching versus something in a food industry.
Right. Melissa, you want to talk about money?
So I try to take the small wins where I can. We just finished up a very busy Cape Cod summer. Summers in the Cape are always, you can guarantee that there are going to be people around. If you're not busy and not making money in the summertime, you're never going to make it. So we just finished our summer and we're in the first scary month. It's called September. It's called fall. It's called off season. And I can already see a huge difference in the swing of when people come in. And it's just, I call it a game because I got to try to keep it fun for myself. It's a game. It's how much do I order? Who do I schedule? Who can I schedule with him? How often do I have to be there? How long do I have to be there? You constantly have to work it. I work from the moment I wake up until the moment I go to bed. The only time I'm not working was when I'm walking my dog, and usually I'll do that for as long as I humanly possibly can in the morning before I have to go to work. But even then, I'm crunching numbers. I'm thinking, last year at the end of the year, did we make a profit? Absolutely not. It came with a lot of answers to a lot of questions, but it also proposed more questions. It's just a daily game that you have to play in your mind of how you're going to figure out how to get better, how to make more money, how to get yourself in front of more people. And like Kalpana said, it's like if they taste the food, if they come in, if they see it, it's a no-brainer. But getting to that point, getting people in the door can be tough, especially when you're in such a saturated market.
Melissa, do you take a salary out of the business?
I do. I pay myself minimum wage for 40 hours a week. So sometimes if a waitress is sick, I get to waitress and I make a little waitressing money, and there is nothing like waitressing money. It's the best. Come in, you wait on tables, you go home, nobody asks you any questions, you got your money and you're drinking your coffee at the end of the day, right? But yeah, I do take home a paycheck, and I know that's pretty rare in the industry. So I feel accomplished about that, except for the fact that at the end of the year, last year, there was no profit. So I'm hoping for a difference at the end of the year this year. I just celebrated my 2-year anniversary on September 14th. And it's partially in no part of my own doing, but because of COVID and because of all the restrictions, like when we first opened, I could only have 12 people in my dining room. It was ridiculous. It's really hard to try to make any money. Now the floodgates are open. We are allowed to have people in. We can feed as many people as humanly possible. Nobody's counting anything. So it was a lot easier to try to make money, but with making more money, you have to spend way more money. You have to order a shit ton more food. You have to hire more people. All these people want to be paid to the sky and beyond. And so it's a game. You have to play the game. You have to figure it out. And in games, I like to win. So I am just constantly working it.
Bonnie, I know that when you went through EforAll, and I know because I was the executive director of EforAll Berkshire County when Bonnie went through it, and you ran the numbers, I think you were actually happily surprised when you ran them. Am I right?
I So I have always been, I opened my business and created my LLC in November of 2019. And right before pandemic hit, I had no idea what I was doing. I knew that I could work restaurant. I am under that umbrella for all of the regulations and everything. And I could and put my products out into different places, but I had to sell myself. I have learned how to read reports and run them in QuickBooks and know that I am making a profit because I don't pay right now. It's an exchange program, but I want to have my own place and my own space. So I know that somewhere down the road, things are gonna evolve where I'm not paying so much for my cost of goods because some of that money is going for rent. It's a really complicated arrangement that I've made for myself, but it's also given me the opportunity to grow ridiculous recipes and create a following. I was really scared and I wanted me to be my own customer. So the six pack of cookies was relatively cheap, $4. And they were like, you got to raise your prices. You have to run the numbers and learn how to figure out what your recipe really costs and then multiply it. Well, and I learned that I was underselling myself and some things I was charging pretty well. And COVID and then inflation. And I realized that inflation and gas prices, and I do all my own delivering out to the different places that carry my products. So I had to ask for a delivery fuel surcharge. And I was like, how I can't believe that I'm doing this, but I did it and nobody balked and it's okay. And I had to raise my prices because everybody else was it. And I needed to make that income so that I can plan for the future. My business this year has done business and selling more pieces of product than I had the whole last year at this point already. I am paying myself. I draw once a month, I pay myself. I just gave myself a raise because I'm like, I can't even buy grocery family with what I was paying myself. So it's still less than minimum wage. I did the numbers with my accountant. Get yourself a great accountant that will sit down and talk to you about the numbers and can see your vision. Even if you're not able to see your vision, talk to people to help guide you. If you have to pay, I paid my accountant and it was so worth the time that I realized that I do undersell myself, that I do need to go out there and say, hey, have you had my cake? Have you had these cookies? Looking for something that tastes good and doesn't have a bunch of weird ingredients. Well, here I have something for you. So yes, I pay myself. I've raised my prices. I still know that building a kitchen is going to be expensive.
Lisa, do you have any last question you want to ask before we stop the recording and let the audience ask questions?
Well, I'm going to throw something out, but I don't think it has to be discussed right now, but it's the question about how deeply everybody's examined the solution that you're providing the consumers, your own consumers. Like, Melissa, is your menu bang on? Are there people that are asking for things that you don't have? Bonnie, what your competitors are offering? Are you offering something different enough? Or do you think that what you're offering is the best? I mean, it's just, I could ask every one of you, and we don't have to have that conversation. I just brought that up because I think it's something that we all need to do. We all need to re-examine every once in a while and pivot sometimes. Something goes off trend, or there's something with an ingredient that doesn't work anymore, or a
So
big-
Kimberly, you want to answer it?
anyone, yeah, does anyone?
Sure. I just think it was a great question, and the EforAll did a really good job with asking us, like, what's our value proposition? And I know what mine is. So just marketing my value proposition better, I think, is one of my things that I need to do. And also adding in more products, because not everybody cares about candy, but they might like it as a sauce. They might want something crunchy. I know the gluten-free people want something crunchy for sure. So that pivot is that I can't sell just one product for sure.
Kalpana?
And yeah.
What I wanted to say, couple things before we stop recording. First, I'll answer Lisa's question. So in general, that's, she's asking, have you validated product market fit? And what do you do, right? So it's a very good question where Kim is trying to expand her products. I am trying to constrain to the products that I have. We currently have 4 to 6 SKUs, and there is a reason why, but I'm only limiting to that, right? When I do these events, people ask, oh, literally yesterday, someone was asking, do you not just do the masala, right? And then I have to tell, there's too many people who just sell the spices. It's not just that, but that's not what the customer I was serving for, and I am serving for, is really the convenience, where I want to give you everything. So you don't just buy a spice jar and you use it once, and then it's sitting on your shelf for the rest of the year, right? So I think you really have to stick to your value proposition, and then really validate, is there a need for your product? And how do you do that? You do those tastings. Are people liking? Are they giving you feedback? Are they saying this is too spicy, or are they saying too salty, right? Narrow down, get your 2 or 3 products right, and then you expand as you are growing. So I think that's my strategy. And because I've been doing that, I haven't been really thinking about pivoting. I am learning, measuring, iterating, and doing that with the 4 or 5 products that I have. For example, if we did chicken biryani, there's always somebody asking, is there a vegetarian option? So we are introducing tofu biryani, but I'm not making them 100 of them, right? I only make 20 and see if people are buying, and then just see if there is value in the market, and then you add. If they're not buying, then don't make them, right? I think that's key. The second key is the thing that I wanted to answer, tell people before we stop recording, is the number of resources I've found as I'm learning. I wish, this is the thing that I wish I knew a year ago, starting in food industry. One of them is, EforAll is a great entrepreneurship program, irrespective of what industry you are. Great, but there's also the programs very specific to food industry. I know Ploy is on the call. Commonwealth Kitchen is a great resource. I wish I knew a year ago. They have entrepreneurship programs, but they also do a ton of webinars such as this, where you learn. So do sign up for their newsletter. Do look for like Ploy's emails. There's tons and tons of value that they provide. There's another community called Branch Food. They do virtual every Thursday, every month, first Thursday, they do a virtual webinar, not webinar, it's more like a networking where mentors and entrepreneurs from the same industry come together for 1 hour. You think like, oh, it's 1 hour and all of that, but there's this one piece of nugget of information that you could get that helps you move to this next level.
Kalpana, can I ask you to maybe email that or
Yeah, I'm happy to
send
do
it to me,
that.
so that when I send the recording of this out, those links will be in there, because virtual information that's free, that can help you build your business, you'd be silly not to take advantage of it. And I didn't know about any of that, so thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Allison, I think let's stop the recording, because I know there's some good questions out there, and I want to make sure that we have time to get them asked. And I'm going to start with my colleague from EforAll, Amanda Kaiser, aka Kai Childs. Kai, can you turn your camera and your microphone on and ask your own question,